On my birthday, Ethan was late again because of Chloe. When he hurried back, dusty and worn out, I was the only one left in the living room, and the birthday cake sat untouched on the table. The air was filled with a faint scent of gardenia perfume clinging to him, belonging to another woman. That was Chloe's favorite fragrance. He looked tired and apologetic as he handed me an exquisite velvet box. Ava, happy birthday. Sorry I'm late. Chloe just returned to the country and fell ill from the change in environment. I took her to the hospital and have been dealing with it until now. I took the box and opened it. Inside was a diamond necklace of considerable value. His usual way of making amends. If it were before, I probably would have thrown a tantrum, felt wronged, and questioned whether his heart belonged only to his white moonlight, Chloe. But today, I simply said thank you calmly, then put the necklace away without even trying it on. Ethan was clearly surprised by my reaction. He probably had a whole bunch of comforting words prepared, but my sudden calmness threw off his rhythm. He tentatively explained, Ava, Chloe and I are really just friends. She came back alone. I know. I interrupted him, my tone calm and steady. Go take a shower. It's late. He looked at me with a complicated expression, but in the end, he turned and went into the bathroom. Listening to the sound of water from the bathroom, I took out my phone and opened the travel app one had prepared long ago. The Northern Lights in Iceland, the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the Sahara Desert. These were places I had mentioned to him countless times, but he always said, we'll talk about it later. Now, I'm going alone, leaving Ethan, traveling the world. Once this thought took root, it grew wildly, occupying all my thoughts. In the following days, Ethan seemed to want to make up for his neglect. He started leaving work on time, remembered to buy the desserts I liked, and even took the initiative to suggest going to the movies with me on weekends. The more considerate he acted, the more I felt a sense of inner sarcasm. Where have you been all this time? People's hearts don't turn cold overnight. Once disappointment accumulates enough, they completely give up. I was indifferent to his gestures of goodwill, like a puppet cooperating in a performance, my expression calm, my heart utterly unmoved. A week later, I submitted my resignation letter. The reason is, the world is so big. I want to go see it. My immediate boss, who happens to be Ethan's childhood friend, looked at me in surprise. Ava, are you serious? Aren't you and Ethan about to get married? Quitting now to travel around the world? I nodded. Yes. I want to take advantage of being young to do something I really want to do. The news quickly reached Ethan's ears. He came home from work, his face unusually grim, and threw the resignation letter on the table. Ava, what on earth are you up to? Traveling around the world? Did you discuss this with me? His tone carried an air of unquestioned control, as if my decision required his approval. I looked at him calmly. This is my decision. I don't need to discuss it with anyone. Ethan's expression changed instantly. The fierce momentum vanished. He even glanced at me nervously before walking to the balcony to take a call. The voice was very low, but I still vaguely heard words like fever, unwell, and it will pass soon. He hung up the phone, hurried back to the living room, grabbed his coat, and said, Ava, Chloe is sick again. I have to go check on her. You, go ahead. I interrupted him. The patient comes first. He seemed choked by my generosity again, hesitated to speak, but in the end, he left quickly. The door slammed shut with a bang, cutting off the last bit of warmth between him and me. I picked up my phone and opened Instagram. Sure enough, Chloe's moments had been updated half an hour ago. A photo of her looking pitifully lying on the sofa, captioned, fever again, feeling so awful. Luckily you're here at Ethan. The setting is the private clinic downstairs from Ethan's apartment building, so the so-called just dropping by actually meant walking right in. I tugged at the corner of my mouth and turned off my phone. Ethan's trip this time would last another 3 days. Just then, his phone rang. The caller ID showed Chloe. When he came back, his face still carried the lingering ease and joy he had felt while spending time with Chloe. It was as if he hadn't been taking care of patients these past 3 days, but rather on a vacation. He saw me all dressed and ready to go, paused for a moment, and asked, Ava, where are you going? Meeting a friend, to keep a promise. I picked up my bag, my tone calm. Practice? He frowned. Are you really going to leave? My phone rang at the right moment. It was a message from my friend Sophia, with a bar location and a photo of Chloe drinking alone at the bar. In the photo, Chloe's eyes were glazed over, on the verge of tears, looking heartbroken and dejected. I turned the phone screen toward Ethan. Look, Chloe seems upset and is drinking at the bar. You just got back. Aren't you going to comfort her? Ethan looked at the photo, his eyes flickering for a moment, seemingly moved, but also hesitant because of me. I smiled, my tone sincerely like a saint. Go ahead, Ethan. Look how pitiful she is. She must be drowning her sorrows for you in alcohol. Don't leave her alone in a place like that. It's not safe. I even took the initiative to help him pick up the coat he had just taken off. Go quickly. Don't keep people waiting. Ethan finally took the coat, glanced at me with a complicated look, and hurriedly left. Watching his disappearing back, the smile at the corner of my mouth slowly faded. The practice is real, but the destination is also that bar. The booth Sophia and I reserved happened to have a perfect view of the bar counter. When I arrived, Ethan was indeed already sitting beside Chloe, gently comforting her. Chloe wiped her tears while leaning into Ethan's embrace. Before long, under the hazy lights of the bar, Chloe suddenly stood on her tiptoes and kissed Ethan on the lips. Ethan was momentarily stunned but did not immediately push her away. His hand was still resting on Chloe's back. My heart felt like it had been sharply pricked by a needle, but was soon replaced by a numbness as if the dust had settled. See, Ava, this is the man you've loved for 10 years. Perhaps my gaze was too focused. Ethan noticed and turned his head to look over. When he saw me sitting in the booth not far away, his pupils suddenly contracted, and he abruptly pushed Chloe away from his arms. He wanted to walk over to me, but the crowd in the bar surged, instantly separating us. Chloe also saw me. A flicker of panic crossed her face, then it turned into grievance and provocation. Ethan finally squeezed through the crowd and rushed to my booth, his face dark. Ava, let me explain. Explain what? Sophia cut in before I could. Always straightforward. Explain you cozying up with your white moonlight at the bar. Or explain when you're planning to make room for our Ava? Another friend chimed in sarcastically. Exactly, Ethan. We specially celebrated Ava today, to mark that she finally came to her senses, ready to leave you, the busy man, and pursue a new life of freedom. They deliberately steered the topic towards quitting to travel the world. Ethan was indeed thrown off track. He looked at me anxiously. Ava, we can still discuss the quitting part. Don't be upset just because Chloe and I. Angry? Sophia sneered, cutting him off mercilessly. Ethan, aren't you being a bit self-deluded? Ava has long been immune to you and your so-called white moonlight. Otherwise, why do you think she's so generous to let you take care of your ex-girlfriend over and over again? Her words were like a knife, piercing through Ethan's self-deceptive fantasies with precision. Ethan's face turned pale and flushed in turns, clearly choked by Sophia's words. He wanted to retort, but looking at my calm and unruffled face, he didn't know what to say. In the end, he still chose to first soothe the drunken Chloe who was clinging to him and refusing to leave. Ava, I'll take Chloe home first, and we'll talk later. After saying this, he helped Chloe leave the bar. Watching them leave together, my friends all felt indignant on my behalf. Ava, look at him. He didn't take what you said seriously at all. Exactly. I really thought you resigned to go traveling. I smiled and raised my glass, to our successful deception, and to my impending freedom. Yes, he was temporarily fooled, but this is only the beginning. Ethan had just sent Chloe home. It was already late at night. He returned to the home we once shared warmly, and facing the empty living room, he felt a slight discomfort for the first time. He sat on the sofa, seemingly beginning to seriously ponder my recent unusual behavior, my calmness, my generosity, my sudden resignation. Everything seemed so illogical. The next morning, Ethan surprisingly didn't go to the company but instead suggested accompanying me to the temple on the mountaintop to pray for blessings. He said that we hadn't gone out together for a long time and wanted to pray for our upcoming wedding. I looked into his eyes, seeing the sincerity he tried to make up for, but my heart remained unmoved, only feeling a sense of irony. Yet, I still agreed. Some plays must be performed until the very last moment. However, just as we were about to reach the foot of the mountain, an accident happened. We ran into Chloe and Ethan's group of friends. They grinned and said that they knew Ethan was coming to pray for blessings, so they came along to join the fun and to supervise him, reminding him not to forget the red envelopes from their brothers. Chloe looked pleasantly surprised as if by a chance encounter, affectionately linking her arm with Ethan's. My world for two was once again easily shattered. On the way up the mountain, Chloe was even more dramatic. She wore high heels and deliberately accidentally twisted her ankle in front of Ethan, tears welling up from the pain. Ethan immediately crouched down nervously to check, while the friends around him anxiously voiced their concerns. Oh no, Roland, are you okay? Look at that swelling. We need to get to the hospital quickly. Ethan, hurry and carry Roland down the mountain. Ethan looked up at me, his eyes filled with apology and helplessness. Before I could speak, he had already scooped Chloe up in his arms. Ava, sorry, I have to take Chloe to the hospital first. It's okay. I interrupted him calmly again. You go ahead, I'll go up by myself. He seemed once again surprised by my calmness, and his movement holding Chloe paused for a moment, but in the end, he still held on to his white moonlight and hurried down the mountain surrounded by a group of friends. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, and I stood alone in place, watching their distant backs, feeling nothing but absurdity and ridicule. I took a deep breath, turned around, and continued to walk alone towards the mountain top. That night, Ethan came back very late. He came with an apology and a cake, saying it was to make up to me. Ava, I'm sorry, today again. It's okay. I took the cake and placed it on the table without opening it. He looked at me and finally couldn't hold back the question he'd been holding in for a long time. Ava, what's really going on with you? Why have you become so generous? You weren't like this before. I looked up at him and smiled, but the smile didn't reach my eyes, because I've come to terms with it. Ethan, I looked into his eyes and said each word clearly. I will be magnanimous to the end, and let you and Chloe be. Ethan was clearly stunned by my words, looking at me in disbelief. Ava, what do you mean? Literally. I withdrew my gaze and stopped looking at him. I'm tired, Ethan. I don't want to play this three-person drama anymore. After speaking, I ignored his shock and questions, walked straight back to the bedroom, and closed the door. In the days that followed, I made the most of my time planning a world tour, booking flights and hotels, busy as could be. Ethan seemed to be provoked by what I said that night and began trying to make amends. He stopped seeing Chloe, came home on time every day, and even declined social engagements to be with me. He also booked a very famous couple's restaurant, saying he wanted to have a serious talk with me. Let's just treat it as a final farewell dinner. The restaurant had a romantic atmosphere, with flickering candlelight. Ethan held my hand, his tone sincere. Ava, I know I was wrong. I neglected you before. Give me one more chance. Let's be together properly and forget about Chloe, okay? Just then, a familiar figure appeared at the entrance of the restaurant. Beside her was a stranger, a man who looked quite distinguished. The two behaved intimately, chatting and laughing as they walked toward the reserved table, which happened to be right next to ours. Ethan's expression darkened instantly. His gaze was fixed tightly on Chloe and that man, and he unconsciously tightened his grip on my hand. Chloe seemed to notice us as well. She raised her glass to Ethan, a complex and inscrutable smile on her face. Immediately, Ethan's phone vibrated. He picked it up and looked, his expression growing even more unpleasant. It was a text message from Chloe. Ethan, I've thought about it for a long time. We both need to move forward. I wish you and Ava happiness. Ethan felt as if something had pierced him, and he suddenly stood up. He stared fixedly at Chloe and her new boyfriend, his eyes swirling with uncontrollable anger and resentment. Ava, wait for me. He threw out this sentence and quickly rushed to Chloe's table. I watched from afar. Ethan questioned Chloe emotionally, his voice low, but his loss of control was evident. He seemed to be demanding that Chloe break up with that man. At first, Chloe was still smiling, but then she hugged Ethan and began to cry, saying things like I regret it and I only want you. Ethan's body was stiff. He neither pushed her away nor responded, his face showing obvious struggle. I quietly watched the scene, the last bit of warmth in my heart completely cooling off. I picked up a napkin to wipe the corner of my mouth, stood up, and left the restaurant without looking back. Enough, really enough. I decided not to wait any longer and took the initiative to leave. The next day, I was packing the last of my luggage at home when the doorbell rang. I opened the door, and to my surprise, it was Chloe. She was holding a stack of photos, smiling as she walked in, as if completely forgetting the unpleasantness that happened at the restaurant last night. Paid content can be set here. Ava, you're home too? Perfect. Help me take a look, she said, sitting down on the sofa by herself, spreading the photos out on the coffee table. They were all photos of different men, all seemingly good candidates for blind dates. At that moment, Ethan came down from upstairs, and upon seeing Chloe, his expression instantly turned sour. Chloe seemed to ignore his expression and continued to speak to me enthusiastically. My mom is forcing me to go on blind dates, saying I need to start a new relationship. Ethan, can you help me take a look and see which one is better? She deliberately pushed the photos closer to Ethan. Ethan's breathing became noticeably rapid, his eyes fixed intently on the photos, lips tightly pressed together, but he said nothing. I casually picked a few photos. These look pretty good, mature and steady. Chloe picked up the few sheets I pointed to and nodded with satisfaction. I think so too. I'll arrange for them to meet this weekend. After she finished speaking, she stood up and smiled at Ethan. I'll go ahead then. I won't disturb you guys, I promised. Ethan watched Chloe's departing figure, his fists clenched tightly, veins bulging on his forehead. As soon as Chloe left, he immediately turned around and hugged me tightly, his strength almost crushing me. His voice carried a barely perceptible tremor and panic. Ava, did you hear that? Chloe is going on a blind date. She's starting a new relationship. You don't have to be jealous anymore. I quietly leaned against him, feeling the rapid heartbeat in his chest. He wasn't happy for me. He was afraid. It was Chloe. Afraid that Chloe would really leave him. Afraid of losing the white moonlight he had always treated as a backup and his possession. I gently pushed him away, my face still calm and expressionless. I'll make you breakfast, I said. Then I turned and walked into the kitchen. I made his favorite fried eggs and bacon, served with toasted bread and milk. We set the breakfast on the table and sat facing each other as usual. After finishing breakfast, I wiped my mouth, looked at him, and softly said, Ethan, goodbye. Ethan was looking down at his phone, seemingly busy handling some urgent matter, probably trying to find a way to stop Chloe from going on the blind date. He absent-mindedly murmured, What do you want for dinner? I'll come back early. He didn't understand the true meaning behind my goodbye at all. I watched him hurriedly put on his coat, grab his briefcase, and leave for work as usual. The moment the door closed, the smile at the corner of my mouth finally vanished completely. I took out my phone and dialed the moving company's number. The movers arrived quickly. I didn't take anything that belonged to this home, except for my passport, ID, and the small suitcase I had prepared long ago. As for those items carrying 10 years of feelings and memories, gifts he gave me, our photos together, the scarf I once knitted for him, the love letters I wrote, I piled them up in the yard and set them on fire. The flames rose, devouring everything from the past. Watching those things turn to ashes, I felt that some heavy burden in my heart completely disappeared along with them. I went to the airport, all alone. Just before the plane was about to take off, Ethan's call came through. He probably finally realized that the house was empty and finally understood what had happened. The phone rang for a long time. I stared at the name flashing on the screen, finally pressed the hang-up button, and then turned off the phone. Goodbye, my love that lasted humbly for 10 years. The plane soared into the clouds, leaving the city where I had lived for more than 20 years far behind. At the same time, a scheduled message I had set up in advance was sent to Ethan's phone. Ethan, let's break up. I don't want you anymore. I'm giving you to Chloe. Ethan was standing alone in the empty house when he received the message. He stared at the short line of words on the phone screen, completely stunned. An indescribable sense of loss and panic overwhelmed him like a tide. It was only then that he belatedly recalled my goodbye that morning, and all my recent unusual behavior, calm, magnanimous, resolute. It turned out, she wasn't just throwing a tantrum, she was really leaving, completely, leaving him. He rushed into the bedroom, and all my clothes, shoes, and bags in the walk-in closet had vanished. My skincare and makeup products on the dressing table were all gone. The computer I often used in the study was missing as well. Every trace of me in the house had been wiped clean, as if I had never lived here, except for the pile of ashes in the yard that hadn't completely died out. Ethan slumped to the ground in despair, his heart filled with bitterness and confusion. He began trying to get used to a life without me, only to find that the air was filled with a strange emptiness. He couldn't understand why, when we were clearly about to get married, I would choose to give up at this moment. He even started recalling our childhood, the little girl with pigtails who solemnly promised she would marry him when she grew up. Since when did the girl who loved him with all her heart decide she no longer wanted him? He painfully covered his face. It was only at this moment that he sluggishly realized that his care and inability to let go of Chloe were more of a habitual obsession and unwillingness to accept a compensation for what he couldn't have in his youth. and my significance to him had long unknowingly permeated every corner of his life, as important as the air, yet taken for granted and ignored by him. It was Chloe, and she brought along Ethan's group of wild friends. They were holding champagne and streamers, bursting in with excitement. "Ethan, congratulations on being single again. I told you, a woman like Ava is not worthy of you. It's still us, Roland. Who suits you best? Hurry up, strike while the iron is hot, and get back together with Roland." Ethan looked at the noisy crowd before him, especially Chloe with her radiant smile, feeling nothing but sharp pain and irony. An unprecedented fury surged straight to his head. "Get out," he growled, his eyes bloodshot. "Everyone get out of here." Everyone was frightened by him and awkwardly fell silent. Chloe's smile froze on her face as she looked at Ethan in disbelief. "Ethan, what's wrong with you?" She took out her phone, opened my Instagram profile, and held it out to Ethan. "Look, Ava even posted a story to announce it to the world. She's really gone. There's nothing standing between us anymore." On the screen was a photo I took by the airplane window, captioned, "New life begins." Below, there was a line of small print, "Goodbye, my past." Ethan looked at the photo, his heart clenched so tightly that it hurt him almost to the point of being unable to breathe. Just then, his phone rang again. It was Ethan's mother calling. As soon as he answered, his mother's stern scolding came through. "Ethan, what the hell have you done? Ava is such a good girl. How could you let her go? I'm telling you, our Luo family only recognizes Ava as the daughter-in-law. You now, immediately, right this moment, go and bring Ava back for me." After hanging up the phone, Ethan's expression grew even darker. Chloe stubbornly came closer again, trying to hold his arm. "Ethan, I'll explain to Auntie. Don't be angry. Now that Ava is gone, we're just friends." Ethan suddenly shook off her hand, his tone cold and carrying an unprecedented distance. "Chloe, don't come looking for me anymore." He even subconsciously wondered, if Ava found out, would she get jealous and upset? The thought flashed by, and he was stunned himself. He pushed the distraught Chloe and that group of friends out the door, then immediately took out his phone and called his assistant. "Find out immediately, where did Ava go? Check all her flight information. He now has only one thought, to find me and win me back. He thinks I'm just angry for a moment. I love him so much that I would surely soften easily. As long as he pampers me properly, I will definitely change my mind." The assistant was very efficient, but the results found almost made Ethan explode with anger. "President Ethan, I've found it. Miss Ava. She purchased tickets to 3 different countries at the same time, Country A, Country F, and Country T. The departure times are all about the same, so it's impossible to determine which flight she actually boarded. 3 countries? She actually went this far. Even the final destination has to be hidden. Goodbye, Ethan." Ethan was so angry that the veins on his temples throbbed. Going to the airport to intercept her was obviously unrealistic. He took a deep breath and forced himself to calm down. "By the way, those friends who practiced with me at the bar that day, they must know." He immediately drove to my former company. However, when he asked at the company, the colleagues all said that the girls who practiced with me at the bar that day were not employees of our company at all. They were just my private friends. Only then did Ethan realize that at the bar that day, I was not only acting for him, but even the friends who practiced with me were hired actors. My friends and I joined forces and completely outsmarted him. A huge sense of frustration and the anger of being fooled swept over Ethan. He immediately instructed his assistant to check the identities of my friends. Soon, the assistant pinpointed one of them, Sophia. The information shows that Sophia comes from a well-off family, has a feisty personality, and most importantly, she is my best girlfriend. Ethan immediately got Sophia's address and drove straight over. He caught someone downstairs at Sophia's house. Sophia was not surprised to see him. Instead, she showed a mocking smile. "Yo, boss Ethan, what an honor to have you here. Looking for me?" Ethan suppressed his anger. "Where did Ava go?" Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Why should I tell you?" "Tell me." Ethan stepped forward, his tone threatening. Sophia was not afraid at all. Instead, she stepped forward and gave Ethan a loud slap. The crisp sound of the slap echoed through the empty underground parking lot. Ethan was stunned by the slap. "Ethan, do you have any shame?" Sophia pointed at his nose and scolded him mercilessly. "You enjoy Ava's meticulous care and love, yet you can't stop thinking about your first love, trying to have it both ways. Do you feel proud of yourself? You think Ava is truly magnanimous?" she's just given up. Being ignored and hurt by you time and again has completely extinguished all hope. Your feelings for Chloe are nothing but the resentment of not getting what you want, aren't they? If she really ended up with you, you'd be bored of her in less than 3 months. Now that Ava is gone, you think you can't live without her? Too late. You were the one who pushed her away with your own hands. A hypocritical and selfish man like you doesn't deserve Ava's love at all. Every word Sophia spoke was like a sharp knife, piercing deeply into Ethan's heart. Those thoughts he deliberately ignored and deceived himself with were brutally exposed, laid bare under the sunlight. Just then, the doorbell rang. He was powerless to refute because everything Sophia said was the truth. It was him. It was him who repeatedly hurt the girl who loved him the most. It was him who lost her. Overwhelmed by immense regret and pain, he was drowning. He looked at Sophia, his voice hoarse. I know I was wrong. I will let go of Chloe. I won't give up on Ava. Please, tell me, where is she? Sophia sneered. Let go of Chloe? That's easy to say. Can you guess where Ava's first stop on her world tour is? Sophia looked at him with a bewildered expression and sneered. You don't even know the place she wants to go the most. And you still have the nerve to say you won't give up on her? Ethan, stop being so self-deluded. Ava won't give you the chance to hurt her again. After saying that, Sophia turned and walked away, never looking back. Ethan stood there alone, his mind racing through every little moment he had shared with her. The place I want to go the most. He suddenly remembered that once I was holding a travel magazine, pointing at the photos with sparkling eyes, and said to him, Ethan, look at the night park in Country A. Legend has it that lovers who see the first ray of morning light there will receive the night's blessing and be together forever. How did he respond at that time? It seemed he perfunctorily said, we'll go when we have time. He also recalled that on my travel guidebook that was burned, the first destination marked seemed to be the night park in Country A. Country A, night park. Ethan seemed to have grasped at the last straw, immediately taking out his phone to book the earliest flight to S City in Country A. Just as he was on his way to the airport, he received a call from Chloe. Chloe's tone was deliberately casual. Ethan, I heard you went to find Sophia. Did you find Ava? Actually, you don't need to be in such a hurry. Matters of the heart can't be forced. I've come to terms with it and am ready to accept the arranged blind date from my family and start a new relationship. I wish you and Ava a speedy reconciliation. Her tone carried a hint of probing and barely noticeable grievance. If it were before, Ethan would have definitely tried to stop her when he heard she was going on a blind date. But this time, he just calmly said, got it. I wish you happiness. Then he hung up the phone. Chloe on the other end of the line was stunned. She couldn't believe that Ethan was so calm, not even showing the slightest intention to hold her back. Why? Ava had clearly left, so why was he still unwilling to return to her side? An unprecedented panic gripped her. She immediately called Ethan's friends to inquire about his whereabouts. When Chloe found out that Ethan had flown straight to City S in Country A, the city she had once claimed to go abroad to study but was actually living with someone else, she completely panicked. She was afraid that Ethan would find out about what happened back then and feared losing this last chance. After much hesitation, she gritted her teeth and immediately booked a ticket to City S. She was going to win Ethan back. After arriving in S City, Ethan headed straight to Night Park. In that vast park, he wandered aimlessly like a headless fly, searching without direction. He called out my name over and over, but only received empty echoes in return. He sat on a park bench all night, witnessing the legendary first light of dawn, yet never saw the figure he longed for. 2 days passed, and he still hadn't found me. The scenery in S City was beautiful, but he couldn't feel the slightest bit of joy. He finally understood that no matter how beautiful the scenery, without the person you want to see by your side, it is just dull and tasteless. Despair and loneliness overwhelmed him like a tide. Just as he was about to give up, outside a cafe on the street corner, he saw a very familiar silhouette. That figure, wearing the beige trench coat he knew so well, was looking down at their phone. It was Ava. It had to be her. Ethan's heart raced wildly as he excitedly rushed over. However, just as he was about to catch up with that figure, a shadow suddenly rushed out from the side and blocked his way. It was Chloe. Ethan, why are you running so fast? Chloe panted as she stopped him, but her gaze flicked toward the figure who had already turned the corner. Who did you see? Are you sure you didn't mistake someone? Ethan's footsteps came to a halt. That silhouette just now, was it really just a resemblance? Seeing his hesitation, Chloe immediately took the opportunity to say, City is so big, it's too hard to find someone. Why don't we ask Ava's parents? They must know where Ava is. This suggestion made Ethan's eyes light up. Yeah, how did he not think of that? He immediately took out his phone and dialed my father's number. The call connected, and my father's voice sounded calm, even with a hint of detachment. Ethan, is something wrong? Uncle, do you know where Ava is? I've been looking for her for a long time. Ethan, his father interrupted him, his tone weary yet resolute. Ava doesn't want to see you, and she doesn't want you to find her. She said, let the past be the past. She has already let go. You should let go too. The phone was hung up. Ethan held the phone, feeling as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. Even my parents have taken my side, refusing to reveal my whereabouts. I really have no intention of forgiving him. A tremendous sense of despair completely broke him. At night, Ethan returned to the hotel in a daze. Before long, the doorbell rang. Opening the door, it was Chloe wearing a sexy bathrobe, holding a tray in her hand. Ethan, I saw you didn't eat dinner tonight, so I ordered some food for you, she said as she walked straight into the room, placed the tray on the table, then turned around, trying to embrace Ethan. Ethan, I know you're upset. Forget about Ava. Let's start over, okay? Her voice was filled with seduction. Ethan looked at her carefully made-up appearance, smelled the strong perfume on her, and felt nothing but nausea and disappointment. He pushed her away, his tone cold. Chloe, I told you, we're just friends. Please leave. Chloe's face turned pale, a flicker of hurt and unwillingness flashing in her eyes. But she didn't give up. Instead, she took a desperate gamble, pulling a small spray bottle from the pocket of her bathrobe and pressing it once into the air. A strange, sweet fragrance instantly spread throughout the room. Ethan suddenly felt dizzy, and his body began to uncontrollably heat up. He immediately realized something was wrong. This is love potion perfume? He sharply looked at Chloe, his eyes filled with utter disgust and coldness. He never expected that Chloe would resort to such despicable tactics.